Time to abandon ship.
Oh no!
Here we go!
Can I persuade you to join us for a drink? It's a tradition.
Here, here.
Jar Jar, homie, my main man, quickly. Before the Separatists attack, get into the escape pod.
Hey! This is escape, then we're the pod.
Welcome back to Star Wars Escape Pod, and thank you again for tuning in. I'm your host, Josh, and if you weren't here last week, we had a very special guest. His name was Jason, and if you haven't checked out last week's episode, definitely go and take a look, especially if you're into miniature models and the art of model making for a hobby or for cinema or whatever. You might enjoy our conversation. It was a good one. But this week, we got our co-host Blake joining us back in the podcast, and the Escape Pod. We're going over the last two Bad Batch episodes, Episode 9, The Crossing, Episode 10, Retrieval, and talking all things Fan Expo from this year in Vancouver at Fan Expo 2023. Let's get into it.
Another happy landing.
Hello, sir.
Hello. Yes. Good to be here, man.
Yeah, good to have you back.
Exciting week.
As always, yeah, it's always an exciting week when there's more Star Wars stuff to talk to and talk
right.
about. And this week is it's very special because we got some audio bites from Fan Expo Vancouver 2023.
Wait, what? I thought we were talking about Bad Batch. Did we just play the song?
Oh yeah, we're talking about Bad Batch too. But we gotta let's talk about Bad Batch, and then we'll follow up with some Fan Expo. But just before that, we got a few quick announcements for our listeners. So first of all, thank you again, everyone tuning into the show. If you haven't subscribed on our YouTube channel, you can look us up with our handle, which is at SW Escape Podcast, or you can find the link in the description of every single podcast, whatever platform you're tuning in. Hopefully the links are working. Hopefully they're hyperlinks, and it'll take you right to the YouTube channel, and you could just hit subscribe. And that way you can listen wherever you are, whether you're at your computer or at your phone or whatever. You know, all our episodes come out the day after 1 p.m. They premiere YouTube premiere style. You can leave a comment. I usually try and get a Q&A or like a little survey going. Have you noticed that? I don't know if anyone actually participates.
Yes.
It's like one yes, yeah. Clearly, you're in the premiere. Anyone tuning into the YouTube premiere, you can participate in like a community question or a little poll or something like that. You know, but I don't know. Not too many people catch the premieres. Normally, it's like an after thing. Normally, it's like
that's what I've noticed. You know, check it out afterwards and give it a thumbs up.
It's like, I don't know. It's like YouTube. I find it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I mean, hit the like button, of course, while you're there, and you drop a comment. That always helps. But YouTube is one of those things that I just always find, you go and listen to your podcast only there if you're like already at your computer,
Right.
Like it's not the platform that people tend to gravitate to for podcasts. So like it's still a bit of a, at least for us,
that's for me. I know. I mostly will listen to YouTube while I'm working.
Yeah,
because I'm at my PC all day.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly it. So at least I
don't think we should condone driving and YouTubing.
No, definitely not. And but I mean, like that being said, I mean, if you're sitting in a Tesla right now, listening to Star Wars Escape Pod on YouTube of all places, definitely let us know because. We are there, and there's like a nice little visual video that takes a couple hours to render out each time we do an episode, but it's worth it. It's worth it. The waveform is custom per episode, and
ooh.
Yeah, ooh. Join the Discord too. So if you guys want to get involved with some Star Wars chat, some forums, it's a great way to get in touch with us. and just speculate on shows. Post some links, some whatever.
Speaking of which, I think someone brought some stuff up this week, didn't they?
Yeah, someone did. Actually, speaking of which, we do have a question from the Discord, and this question is from Joshua. That's the handle in our Discord, but I know him as Josh. And his question is: thoughts on recent developments on TikTok. Hello there. Star Wars posted there. Interesting. Okay, so what do we think of Star Wars joining TikTok?
Yeah, I didn't even realize what this was at first. I saw the message and then I had to Google it, and then I realized Star Wars wasn't officially on TikTok until that moment in time.
Yeah, honestly, like I don't have a whole lot of opinions about this because like I'm not on TikTok. The podcast isn't on TikTok, and quite frankly, like I know that TikTok is currently undergoing some legal, I guess, what do you call it? Like Overwatch currently in North America. We're just like Canada, US. They're kind of determining, is it safe to use? So, I think it is kind of weird timing that Star Wars just joins TikTok right when it might even just be shut down as a platform. But yeah.
Vote now. Vote now. Vote now.
Yeah. So
you got to get that on your button list there, man.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. As far as opinions go, do you have any opinions about this?
I think the first two clips they put out were pretty well fitting. I know there was a classic Obi-Wan hello there clip. I think it was a montage actually of all the times Obi-Wan has said hello there.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't be more Star Wars than that starting an account, right?
That's true. That is true. I mean, yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, those of you who are on TikTok, piece of Star Wars news for the week. You can find Star Wars on TikTok now. So, thanks for the question, Josh. Yeah. So if you want to post a question to us, there's a channel specifically called Questions for Podcast, and you just hit that blue button. You type in your question, you hit submit, and we'll reply to you with the timestamp of when you can hear us talk about your question and reply to it on the show. So it's just a new way to interact with listeners and kind of replaces our unused dead voicemail that we used to have for 3 years.
Tumbleweed mail, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Tumblr. Who uses that? But we still have it. It's I don't manage it or anything. It's like all automatically. Anytime we posted a podcast episode, it's like there's a post I know that automatically gets fished through to Tumblr. But yeah, I don't. Yeah, I mean, who even knows what Tumblr is anymore? All right, yeah. So
don't let Bryce hear you saying that.
Yeah, true enough. All right, so drop a comment, review, leave us 5 stars on your podcast app, whether you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Really helps us out. Hit the like button on YouTube. It takes a sec. It really helps us out a lot because it bumps us up in the algorithms. And if you know how many Star Wars podcasts are out there, it really does do us a lot of favors. And if you're tuning in on Podbean, thank you for subscribing there. A lot of people tuning in on our home host site. So it's great, leave a comment on Podbean, you guys, and like your favorite episodes, because, that does a lot. So, Bad Batch, shall we?
Bad Batch. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Yes, here we are in Sid's Cantina.
Sid's Cantina, yeah. Man, it seems to be
that
popular.
one band.
That one band again.
Plays in every cantina in the galaxy.
Yeah, they get around.
Oh, man.
I got to say, these 2 episodes that we're about to talk about, it's one single story arc. So Bad Batch Season 2, Episode 9, called The Crossing.
Worked out pretty well, hey?
And yeah, it did work out really well, actually, ironically enough. And Bad Batch Season 2, Episode 10, called Retrieval. So we'll start with Episode 9, work our way through, and then hit Episode 10. And we'll do it just the way that we did it before. We'll do Pablo points or poodoos between after each summary. and just talk about what we liked and what we thought worked and what didn't work. So here's the summary for episode 9, The Crossing. Sid sends the Bad Batch to extract some Ipsium mineral from a mine she recently purchased, but during the expedition, their ship is stolen. Forced to trek towards a spaceport they passed earlier, the squad is buried inside another mine when their recovered Ipsium is detonated by a lightning storm. Having trouble dealing with the recent sudden turnabouts, Omega discovers an Ipsium vein. But while trying to harvest it, she and Tech get separated from the others and have to talk about adapting to changes in life before they find an alternative way out. They find the spaceport abandoned, but manage to contact Sid, who reluctantly agrees to pick them up in a few days. To be continued. What did you think about this episode?
I actually thought it was pretty fun. I'll say I think now that I've seen both of them, I think I like the next episode a little better. But this whole arc just gave me major Borderlands 2 vibes, which I really enjoyed a lot. It was super cool.
I totally see that. Because,
yeah, the mines were very similar to that game, as well as kind of like Fallout-y. They have almost like a vault to the front of them, which I thought was pretty sweet. And they're trying to find this really exotic mineral, which to me was basically iridium from Borderlands.
You know, it's funny because like I feel like they didn't put in a whole lot of thought into the name of this element, because anytime I saw Ipsium like just written down on my page of notes here, like I always think of like lorem ipsum. It's like they just kind of took the most generic way of just being like filler text and took half of that word and be like, all right, let's just make this an element. Ipsium.
Well, I'm looking at it now that because I opened up a Borderlands 2 tab because I can remember the name of the material. It's been a while since I played the game. It's called iridium, and
wow,
this is Ipsium.
That was really close.
Like, I think they actually just like referenced Borderlands 2 to make this arc and this planet.
Dang.
Like it's so close.
Yeah, that is close. Yeah.
And the in the next episode more so, but that town they go to, like that's straight out of Borderlands as well.
Yeah, it was I got major like Western cowboy vibes about this whole
The music was awesome with that tone.
It was, yeah. It wasn't like a Cad Bane thing. Like it was unique, you know. It was very, very unique.
It was more of a like dusty Western town music,
as
opposed to a cowboy song.
Yeah, exactly. Because we've heard a few kind of Westerny vibe songs like throughout Bad Batch before. When Cad Bane shows up, we've heard it in Mandalorian, you know, in Book of Boba Fett, and this one had its own style to it and everything. I was a fan. I was like, this is cool. Like,
yeah, that's all that stuff is what made me really enjoy this arc, because I felt like it had a lot of personality, and I loved every minute of that.
Yeah, very much kind of embraced the fact that these are a group of outlaws, and you know, the story is that's the thing about Star Wars is like it has a lot of like those old West kind of outlaw, you know, story elements to it, right? And
I mean, Tatooine, right? You start off in an old West town.
Yeah, exactly. So you know, it's interesting because like, you know, maybe somebody out there loves Westerns but just hates Star Wars with a passion. It's like, I guess they're just not digging deep enough to find those elements. But I mean, I just see them off the face because I could never really get into Westerns like the same way that other people do. I do enjoy like a good Western. I love the Fateful Eight, you know, Django Unchained. Like there's if you consider that a Western, like there's definitely a couple movies out there that I've seen where I'm like, wow, that's a great.
What about some of the older classics? You ever watch any of those? Like
that's kind of what I'm getting at. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at.
Fistful of Dollars.
I've never I could never really get into those older movies, but I don't think it's necessarily because it's a Western. I think it's just because I don't tend to watch a whole lot of really old movies.
I have the other problem.
I'm kind of
I find myself not liking new movies. I always get bored.
That's fair. But yeah, I mean, I know Darian, if he's listening right now, he's probably like, you know, probably yelling through his headphones, like, "Gosh, you got to watch more Western movies."
Dude, they are really good.
He loves his Westerns. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to have a Western watch party or something.
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
Bryce is into it too. It'd be cool to do like we could even do like a podcast afterwards where we kind of see the stuff that George like really referenced. I think that'd be fun.
Yeah, definitely. That would be a good time. This episode, my thoughts on it was I liked the emotional aspect a lot because it really ties into having, I guess, I wouldn't say this episode has like an insane story arc or anything, but it gave depth to these characters in a way that other episodes haven't really done. And that was important because without those story elements every now and again, like you just stop caring about these characters, right? And
No, it's true. It makes them feel really one-dimensional. So if Echo disappeared and no one cared, I think that would make it feel maybe a little bit more Monster the Weekish, where there's really not really an overarching story.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, exactly. It's I started thinking about it, and we can do some Pablo points and poodoos now if you want. It's just I was trying to think of ways because of course, like doing this rating system, I thought to myself, it's kind of fun to do this rating system, either doing a poodoo or a point, but like what really makes a good episode? Like what makes something that's done within Star Wars lore good, right? And I was really trying to think of ways in which telling a good Star Wars story connects with fans on the best level possible. And I came up with 5 key points.
okay.
The first one, does it contribute or give depth to Star Wars lore? The second one, does it have good character development? Sometimes hand in hand with the first thing there. Third thing, does it add to a good larger story arc? Sometimes hand in hand with either the first or second points. Fourth point, does it connect with the audience? That's a big one. It could be any way whatsoever, but does it connect with the viewer? That's important. And then the fifth and final thing is, does it have a good moral to it? So like even if it doesn't connect with the audience, maybe it connects with somebody else. Maybe there's a good kind of moral to what the story is trying to tell here, in which makes it a relevant story to somebody else. Maybe not you, maybe not me. Maybe it connects with somebody else on a different level. And that's kind of the last thing.
And number 6, is there a ham-fisted scene at the end where they explain the entire plot to you? To make sure you didn't miss anything.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to take a shot because I'm still a little scarred by last episode.
Oh man, no, I get it. Yeah. But those were the 5 things that I kind of came to, and I know that like this isn't like a master class for like writing or anything like that. It's not like I've gone to writing school and I'm no master at screenplays or anything like that. But it's just the 5 things that kind of come into my head when I think, if I'm giving this like a 1 Pablo point, or if I'm giving this like a 1 poodoo or 2 poodoos or whatever, like why am I doing that? Like, it's like, how many boxes did this tick for me to like rate it good or bad? Because like opinions can change. Because like, week to week, like I might look back on an episode and be like, you know what, that actually, maybe that deserved like a higher score than I gave it or something like that. Right.
That's fair. No, I think, initial viewing versus after it's settled a bit and watching it again, you'll have a different opinion.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we can take these 5 elements here and like moving forward and just kind of like keep those things in mind. And like, I'll leave it on on the outline, on our podcast outline, just for us to kind of recall too, if we need help kind of scoring these things, like how do we actually feel about this? And, like I thought in general, this had a pretty good story arc. It wasn't like the absolute bomb or anything, but it was like, reasonable.
But I also was surprised that I did feel like we're back onto another, like,
that's the thing. It's
as
like,
far as like story wise, it was a bit fillery.
It was, yeah,
like,
it was. It wasn't part of the overall larger good story, which is them running from the Empire, right?
Yeah, so they checked some necessary boxes, and the world building was super cool, but the actual plot line itself didn't really go anywhere.
Yeah, no, totally, totally. I feel like it gets a point for connecting with an audience, because like you and I both really appreciated the deep kind of conversation that Tech and Echo have. You know, I think that was really important for those characters. And
and I think they had built Tech up to be pretty unemotional. He's a very
totally
logical person, right? He's kind of almost in the same light as like a Sherlock Holmes.
Yep.
So it made sense that they would, especially with Echo, they would be especially with Omega, there'd be that kind of butting heads with that, because obviously she wears her heart on her sleeve, and this is her first time dealing with really loss. So with someone that she was close to, so it made a lot of sense to have that story arc, and I think they did a good job with it considering the window that they put together. So
yeah. Would you say this has like a good moral to it? Like, can audiences take away something valuable from this story?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Like, I'd say
see how a bunch a crew of people that maybe were put together for a job form a family, ragtag group.
Yeah, I would say a good moral to it is like, obviously Omega is just kind of dealing with a sense of loss, and because she's so young and like maybe she hasn't really gone through that before, and she's like she even like recalls like Crosshair too, like it's everything. It's not just Echo, but it's like Crosshair, it's Echo, it's they're having their ship stolen, which is their home. It's like there's a lot of changes that she's going through, and she doesn't know how to deal with it. And I think it was a good moral to like, kind of like just see how maybe even for a kid that age, like like maybe Omega is just a good example, like a good example character to kind of look at and go like, oh, this is how Omega dealt with it. Like maybe I can deal with that too. And I think Tech had some good things to say as far as advice, like very unexpected character moment there where he actually kind of opens himself up, a guy who just never does that. And
yeah, for sure.
That was really great character development. So for me, it checked like 3 out of the 5 boxes here. I wouldn't say it contributes a crazy amount to lore, and I wouldn't say it's a crazy good story arc, but I think it did a lot in terms of other reasons to like it. And, for that alone, like, I think I could probably give this like, maybe like a 1.5 to a 2 Pablo point kind of score.
Oh, wow. That's quite high then.
Yeah. What about yourself?
I think I go a little lower, but just because I think the next episode did a better job.
Okay.
So I would give it. This rating system's weird because even I feel like me giving a positive review is so close to me giving a negative review.
We should sorry, I totally forgot. For anyone new tuning in, I'll break down our rating system here. So it's a score system out of 7. So 3 poodoos is being the absolute worst of the worst. You can give 2 poodoos, 1 poodoo, and then there's the bendu, which is right in the middle. That's like a 50% score, a bare pass. Then there's 1 Pablo point, 2 Pablo points, and 3 Pablo points. 3 Pablo points being 100% A+. That's a pass, like that's a far pass kind of thing. So I'd say like 1 Pablo point, 2 Pablo points. It's like averagely good kind of thing. Or between bendu and 1, that's kind of like, it's kind of average. If it was bad, we'd definitely give it a poodoo, but it's like, I think it's pretty rare for us to give poodoos. It's like, and then it's just like, how bad is it?
I think there's definitely some novels I would have given poodoos too, but as far as shows, maybe if we went like episode to episode in Resistance, but even overall, I wouldn't give it a poodoo.
I think that's just it, right? Like this rating system works for everything. Cause like, yeah, there's definitely some books that deserve a poodoo. Maybe even 2. I don't know if there's any that deserve a 3, but if there is, send an email. Let us know. Let us know. Yeah, what's a really bad Star Wars book? I don't know.
We should put out a survey, and if the answer, tell us what is your most poodooed Star Wars content.
Oh, I know what's a bad one. Okay, this is kind of divisive because, like, of course, some people would probably absolutely love this book, but for me, 3 poodoos is Battlefront Twilight Company. That was a bad book. That one was terrible.
Is that the second one or the first
That's
one?
That's the first one.
Remember.
That's the first one.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
The one about the rebel troops and stuff. It was just so slow. It was,
Even then, I don't know if I give it a 3. I gave it 1 poodoo for sure.
yeah.
So I don't even know if I finished it, and I restarted that book like 3 times.
Maybe I'm being
like
overly
months
generous.
apart.
Yeah, it's just hard to pick up again, you know? Like anytime you finish a chapter, it's like, oh, thank goodness.
I'm
Like,
so lost.
you know, now I don't need to touch it for another 24 hours or whatever. But like, I think it was that reason alone that I'm giving 3 poodoos. Maybe I'm being a little harsh, but for me, it was like, I want to be able to read Star Wars stuff and have fun with it. You know, like there was no fun in that book. There was nothing. I didn't get anything out of it other than the fact that they set up Echo Base. I think that was like the one cool thing in that book that contributed.
I don't even remember
canon.
that. I zoned out. I did the audiobook and I zoned out so much. I had such a hard time paying attention.
Yeah. And well, that was the last like couple chapters of the book. I'm pretty sure was like
skip to the third last page.
Oh man. Yeah. So anyway, if anyone listening, if you know a really bad, what's a 3 poodoo? You know, what's a 3 Pablo point? Let us know. But yeah,
we should make that our next raffle. That's going to be part of the entry.
Yeah. We gotta make a spreadsheet where we like literally rank everything, like down to the
so many things,
down to the Star Wars orbit keys, which deserve 3 Pablo points.
I don't think we've consumed everything. There's
Star Wars merch,
like,
Star Wars books, Star Wars action figures. How many points does this deserve as far as an action figure goes? Like detail for price.
I couldn't include the EU then. We'd never be able to do it.
Nah, no, only stuff that we of course like touch, right? Only of course stuff that we consume because there's too much. But you know, we can't rank everything. But that being said, YouTini is doing a what do you call it? Like what is it? Round robin or something? You know, it's like when you rank, like you pit 2 things against each other. You know, someone votes and then that one makes it to the next round, and you know, it's like a pyramid system.
StarWars.com does that with like favorite characters, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So YouTini is doing that with Star Wars books. So if anyone wants to participate in that, I will drop a description, a link in the description below. I believe it starts March 6th, and no one got in touch with me as far as promoting this at all. It's just this. I literally just found out about this, and I was like, hey, this. You know, if any of you guys want to participate in that, it's kind of cool. Yeah, I'll be voting. So I'll be giving my poodoos out to the Battlefront Twilight Company.
Oh my gosh. Now's your chance. Revenge.
Revenge. We must have revenge.
There you go.
So how many poodoos is this? How many points?
So,
how many Pablo points?
I think I need to start reevaluating how I give out my points, because when I gave a negative, like we're complaining about being a filler. It wasn't terrible, right? But we still was giving it around 1 Pablo.
I think
this is a more positive episode. I mean, I guess the last episodes are really good because they actually progressed the arcs. Maybe this is similar. Okay. In that case,
the thing is, like, here's the thing. It's just like, just before you give your score, like, I just want to say, like, fillers don't necessarily need to be bad. Like, it's like filler episodes can happen, but like, do they have reasons to contribute to this season, right? And that's kind of why I made this like 5-point system here, because like, if it's a filler episode, what else is it doing? If it's not contributing to a larger story arc, that's good. Like, what is it doing for you?
For me, this episode was all about the world building. I really like this world a lot, and as we get into the next episode, I like it even more. So I would say I'm probably gonna go around I'm gonna say 1 Pablo point for this one, and then we'll get into next episode. But I'll probably push that a little bit higher.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Okay. Episode 10, Retrieval. The Marauder is taken by its thief, a young boy named Benny Barrow, to his owner, Mako, who prepares to strip the ship for parts to sell. Omega devises a way to track the Marauder via Gonki. I don't know how Tech didn't think of this first. The Bad Batch infiltrate Mako's mining base and coerce Benny into guiding them. Benny, hoping to gain Mako's favor, betrays the Batch's presence, but just before being captured, Omega discovers that Mako's been exploiting his workers for his own profit. With this revelation, Benny turns his comrades against Mako, who rebels against Mako, and he falls to his death, nearly dragging Benny down with him. the batch restores their ship and leaves the planet. What do you think of this one?
I really like this episode a lot. I actually thought this was a whole lot of fun. This episode, I felt like could have been it's like a whole novel wrapped up in itself with just the interwoven like hierarchy we have going on in this like really dodgy mining operation.
Yep.
Honestly, like the world building around this to me was fantastic. I loved it so much. It kind of took what we started with last episode and then just kind of roll it into like an even better world, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I like this planet a lot, is what I've learned.
that's that makes I get that feeling from you. Yeah, and I like it too. It's a really cool planet. The question that I asked myself when I was watching this second episode of this arc was like, why this story? You know, like out of all the stories that they could have done, like why this one? Because we've seen this story before. And as much as I liked the episode, I also found it very, very familiar. And the story of having these little kind of rebellions within Star Wars, right? Like, you know, you have the Rebels versus the Empire, and then you get a show like Andor, which you have the prisoners versus the Empire, right? Like it's another
overthrowing tyrants.
Yeah, overthrowing tyrants. Yeah, exactly. It's like a rebellion within a rebellion kind of thing, and you know, and you get those little uprisings of like people standing up to their oppressors, right?
Right.
And
it's the corrupt being called out and the people standing up.
Totally, yeah. It also reminded me, just because the Western vibe, it reminded me a lot of the Mos Pelgo story that we had in the Aftermath books. Of course, we got little verbal recognition to those events in, I think it was the Mandalorian or Book of Boba. It was one of the two. But Mos Pelgo, Mando season 2. Thank you. Yeah, so Mos Pelgo becomes Freetown because the mining collective takes over, rounds up people for labor, and eventually, you know, they're, I mean, with the help of Cobb Vanth and the Boba Fett suit, like, you know, they basically fight back and take back their town kind of thing. So they call it Freetown. But yeah, it felt familiar, right? Like it felt very similar to a lot of other stories. For that reason alone, just creativity wise, it was so similar to so many things I've already seen. I actually think I'm rating this one less than I did with the first one. As much, even though I liked it a lot, I think I'm going to give this one like 1 Pablo point. Only because character development wise didn't really add more than the first one gave me. And as much as I did like the world that it's built in, that's brownie points towards the positive radius of our rating system here. But other than that, I wasn't getting a whole lot out of it other than a story I've already seen. So
fair enough. I think it was a little different. I'm not going to say the story was unique because the story has been told many times, right?
Yeah.
There's always, you know, the thief supposed to help out, and then there's a tyrant that everyone's under. The thief then finds out the truth, and the people rebel and turn the thief over, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not new, but I thought it was executed well in a really fun environment. That's really what it came down from. So yeah. I will say I don't think it was exactly the same because of that, because you're saying it was similar to, because with the Cobb Vanth thing, to me, that's more of the lone gunman who came back for a revenge story. That's not the secrets revealed overthrow the lying ruler.
Yeah, I mean, so it's like, it certainly got some, it's not exactly the same, but it's certainly got some elements which are familiar. It's basically, it's like an old West town with people working for a mining company or person, whatever the heck, you know, the story be. And the same thing happens in which the people fight back. Like the basic kind of beats, kind of beats are there.
I hate to say it, but maybe I should bring this up now. I have noticed that story arc comes up a lot with Dave Filoni's work. Not to poo-poo Dave Filoni, but I
Right.
feel like that story arc is pretty common, and maybe that's partially due to the fact there's so many episodes in a season. Like there's only so many storylines. I think it's something like there's 7 storylines total,
Yeah.
something like that. And like everything is derived from those 7 storylines.
Yeah.
So I mean, you could argue that's kind of what's going on, but I have started to notice that as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
So
I
yeah.
can think of Mando episodes. I can think of Boba Fett. Like a lot of it, it's kind of all very similar. But there's so the thing is, it's the part of the issue I think of. There's so much Star Wars content coming out. It's hard to keep everything super original.
Yeah.
We also have the old grizzled warrior who has to take on some infant storyline that seems to be used a lot too. So
I would even say part of the I guess something positive out of having repetitive story styles like this is that you hit every single audience that you target. So with the Bad Batch, it's clearly targeting younger Star Wars fans, right? Like, not to say that adults can't enjoy this too. I mean, we love the animated series, but there will inevitably be more adult viewers with the live action shows and less with the animated, right? You'll get more younger viewers watching Star Wars with the animated shows rather than perhaps live action, depending on how they're being raised at home and what the parents allow or whatever.
I wonder what that's like with streaming services now, because I know
you can set like parental like age ratings and just kind of cap off PG-13 onwards or whatever.
Not necessarily that is what I mean though. I'm more curious along the lines of, as when we were kids, like we're watching satellite or cable television, you only have X amount of channels if something's always playing. You don't have infinite choice, right? You have to pick from what's on. So more people gravitate towards shows like Star Wars Clone Wars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Versus now, you can watch anything. I feel like it's almost like, I feel like there's not a lot of advertising of shows like Bad Batch. So unless you're already looking for Star Wars content as a kid, you might not even be aware of it.
Right. No, it's true. Yeah, it's definitely true. It's also like it's prominently featured on the main page of Disney Plus. So anyone who has Disney Plus is probably going to know about it. But it's just like one of those things. Like I just in my head, it makes sense that more younger people would be watching a show like this rather than older people. Like that's just basically just in my head. That would make sense.
I get you saying that's the market.
Basically,
off on a different philosophical tangent.
Yeah, like if Andor is like maybe too mature for a younger Star Wars fan, right? Because like it kind of is.
Suicide in it.
Yeah, like there's like the age rating for that show. Like I don't exactly know what it is, but I know it's higher than Bad Batches. And so
sure.
When you compare,
but you could also say there's more older, like people of a older age group that are actually doing rating on shows.
Yeah, for sure. And I would hope the critics that rate Andor approach Bad Batch with like a pre-existing knowledge that this show is meant for a younger audience. So
it's the internet, man. Like,
yeah,
people are like, I watched it. It was lame. It's for kids.
Well,
Don't star.
Basically, what I'm trying to say is like, if a kid isn't watching a show like Andor, they'll miss out on a story arc that is like this one, right? And then if they watch the Bad Batch, that's all they're watching. They'll still get that story arc, but just in a different.
It's new.
Yeah,
for them.
It's new for them. Exactly. Yeah. So for someone like you and me, who's like seen the story arc a million times, whether it's in a book or a game or an animated show or a live action show or a movie or whatever, we've seen it happen so many times in Star Wars. But maybe to someone in which hasn't experienced those Star Wars stories, maybe this is their first experience, like with that kind of storytelling narrative. So. I can give it a pass in regards to that approach. But yeah, for me, just it was like nothing new. So that's the only reason I think why this just didn't follow up the last episode for me, which I thought had a lot of good new stuff in it for the show, because I hadn't seen tech open up like that before, and I hadn't seen Omega in such a vulnerable state like that before. And, there was a bunch of other like good character moments where it's just like, this is a family that's clearly got some issues to work through, and it's not every Star Wars episode that you get something like that, whether it be live action or animated. So, Pablos or Pudus? Did we rate this one yet? I totally forget.
I think you
one Pablo point. Yeah, I
but
give one Pablo point. So what's your score for this one?
I think I'm gonna go with a low 2, so like a 1.8 to 2 kind of area.
Okay, so yeah. So 1.5
Because
Pablo
what is
points.
what does 2 work out to? What is that, like
2 Pablo
80
points? 2 Pablo
80
points.
something percent?
we overcomplicate our rating system so much.
I know. That's what makes it fun.
That's what makes it super fun, though. Yeah. It was like something like that. Maybe like 70 and 80% is probably like the 2.
I try to shoot it around like the 75 to 80% mark.
Yeah,
so like
okay.
let's say 75. So
All
it's
right,
like
so
that's like 1.8.
1.79 Pablo points.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, better than last week. It was 1 3/16.
All right. Let's move on here, shall we? Oh, jeez.
Oh, new show.
All right. First, we have a bit of a we have a message coming in from a special friend of ours. Let's take a listen.
Star Wars escape pod has just been intercepted by the Separatist Alliance. If you are tuning in right now, don't go anywhere. Leave a review and make it a good one.
All right. Thanks, Ventress. Yeah. Choose your friends
Oh,
wisely.
Wow. I just watched her die. That's crazy. Because I've been rewatching the Genndy Tartakovsky animated Clone Wars series.
Well, as you know, this podcast is canon, and we take place during the Clone Wars.
Then how do we know the future?
We've been through the world between worlds. We've seen it all.
Oh man,
we are the Wills.
Oh gosh. I don't want that much. I don't want that much pressure. Too many people to please.
All right, so what's left in the Bad Batch? Just before we move on to Mandalorian here, just as a quick heads up, in March we're getting Metamorphosis, The Outpost, Pabu, Tipping Point, The Summit, and Plan 99. That is the remaining 6 episodes of the Bad Batch Season 2.
It's just so strange to me because there's this. I'm gonna be really bothered if we finish this season and there's 12 episodes and 8 of them are filler.
I have a feeling the last 3 will bring us back to ground zero again, where we finally get the Crosshair Bad Batch story with the whole Camino, like the Camino that got taken to that Imperial base in that big, huge mountain. I think we're going to get that at the very end of season 2, which is going to draw us out to a third season again.
I also want to know what the heck's going on within the Republic, right?
I would like, like the Imperial expansion kind of thing.
Yeah, what the heck? And there's got to be more going on with the reveal that Camino was destroyed by the Empire. Like,
yeah, and we're
just gonna blame that one guy, and it's done, never brought up again.
Hey, maybe who knows, right? Like maybe we will revisit that story arc with Senator Chuchi, and who knows, right? Like we could always go back there, but
man, that just makes me more frustrated that we're getting filler episodes because it was really good. I want to know what happens.
I think like as a whole, like as a rating for the season, maybe we can give some Pablos or Pudus to like the season as a whole.
Yeah,
like,
that's fair.
Yeah. So Mandalorian begins this week, Wednesday, which is pretty nuts. 35 minutes is the first episode runtime, which does not seem that long. And once again, it is an 8-episode season airing each Wednesday night, overlapping the Bad Batch right up until through March, right up until April 19th, which is when the season finale airs on Disney+. So for 6 more weeks, we'll have Bad Batch and Mandalorian coming out on Disney+. For 6 weeks in a row on Wednesday night.
Dang.
And then the last 2 Mandalorian episodes will be Lonesome on Wednesdays. And so it's going to be a lot of stuff to talk about Star Wars wise. So we haven't devised an existing plan yet on the podcast as to how we're going to do this, but my thoughts were we're just going to talk about both on a Monday and do the podcast. It's going to be both Mandalorian and Bad Batch paired up on one sitting, which I feel like maybe it works because Bad Batch tends to go by really quick nowadays. Like, not a whole lot to talk about there sometimes. So,
and if there's a really good episode, like there's a major story arc,
yeah,
I think we could maybe, if we had to, we could always try to,
yeah,
do
we could always like delay
a
something.
two episode,
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
maybe one episode of podcast, like 30-40 minutes, and then the next one hour and a half or whatever. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Exactly.
We could try it for a week, see what's going on.
Yeah, we'll figure something out. So those of you tuning in specifically for Bad Batch or for Mandalorian going forward, just a heads up, you're gonna get a double special every now and again for 6 weeks.
Like
Hopefully
today.
it's not too bad. Yeah, like today. Yeah, except about 2 different shows. So much Star Wars stuff, and then that follows up with a new video game, which is Jedi Survivor, which comes out on next gen consoles and PC in sometime in April. And we have that event or that starting date right here in the Discord under the event section. That'll be April 28th. Is
that the novel or is that the game?
Jedi Survivor. That's the actual game itself. So that comes out.
Why
on
is
April
the
29th.
novel come out afterwards then?
So
What the heck?
10 days after the last episode of Mandalorian.
Okay.
That is a good question. So what was it? It was like, was it Jedi Battle Scars? That's what it's called. That's the prelude book to the game that comes out. Sorry, it does come out before the game. It comes out March 7th. So look for Star Wars Jedi Battle Scars. It's written by Sam Maggs. That comes out March 7th, 2023. And that's 304 pages long, I guess. I don't know if is that a long Star Wars book? Sounds like a long Star Wars book.
I don't know. You got to tell me in audio time.
Yeah, that I don't know.
300 pages isn't too bad, I don't think. It's kind of like, I think that's like a junior novel.
Your standard size.
Like a young adult novel. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Listening length at regular time, 10 hours, 28 minutes.
Yeah, that's very average. That's very average.
All right.
A little bit on the long side, actually. Usually they're around 8. So.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Well,
we still need to do a review of the other book we just read.
Yeah, we do.
High Republic, book 3.
Definitely, yeah. The capstone to phase 1 of the High Republic for sure.
Gotta hurry before I forget and repress it all.
Yeah. Write down what you remember and what you liked and disliked, and we can do a kind of like a overhead review at some point. Maybe we can tag it on to one of these upcoming episodes if we get a slow week or something like that. But man, it's
look forward to that.
Yeah, look forward to that as well. Man, so much Star Wars stuff. And speaking of March, because that's right around the corner, that's when you can get the Hasbro Black Series Clone Trooper Phase 2 premium electronic helmet, battery sold separately. I'm assuming you'll be able to throw that thing on with a push of the button. It'll sound like D. Bradley Baker right there in your room.
Is there pre-sales for that?
Which is the voice of course, the Clone Troopers. And if you forget what the Clone Troopers sound like,
Republic forces have deemed Star Wars Escape Pod as the recommended source for news and entertainment. Subscribe, leave a voicemail, and share the show with a brother.
Share the show.
Entertainment.
Yeah. Anyway, that's D. Bradley Baker, voice of all the Clone Troopers in the Bad Batch and the Star Wars: The Clone Wars, of course, along with many other voices. But I would assume that he's the guy doing the voices in the clone helmet.
I think so. I've never used the voices on that helmets though. So
no, it's true. It also might be possible that they don't put in any voice effects. It might just be like the Vader one. It'll just have like the breathing or something like that. Maybe the clone one will be like the Stormtrooper one, where it'll just be like a voice modulator and have.
That's what I was expecting.
The
yeah,
calm
I remember
the
Stormtrooper just having the voice thing.
Yeah,
pre-recorded.
I know the X-wing helmets have sound effects and I think intercom stuff. So I don't know.
What about Mando?
Mandalorian doesn't have anything other than lights on the inside.
Light. Okay.
Yeah. So if you turn it over,
that's better in my opinion, but I guess I'm a purist.
Yeah. I like it too, just without the complex stuff. It's kind of weird though. Like if you turn, So if you turn the Mandalorian helmet over on its back and you look down into the helmet, there's a lot of cool detail in the helmet now. And they have a gyro sensing light, that like a little red LED that comes on only when you turn the helmet over on its back. That way when you look into the helmet, there's like some sort of little light going on back there. So I don't know, maybe they'll do something similar to the clone trooper helmet. I'm just glad that they're finally making one after all these years.
We gotta do phase 2 and Rex next.
This is phase 2, so they got to do phase 1 next.
Oh, sorry. And, phase 1 and a Rex.
Yeah, phase 1, and I'm assuming they'll do a Rex. Like, that's a different mold completely, because it blends phase 1 and phase 2 together. But
that's why it's so cool.
That's why they got to do it. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so what else we got here? I got a link. This was a hot tip delivered by somebody. Disney parks. All right, get this. Okay, so Disney parks around the world, private jet adventure. You gotta hear this. Okay, this trip includes, so any Disney enthusiast out there, this is the trip of a lifetime. 24 days, 68 meals, 31 sites. Okay, in a private Disney jet. This trip starts at $110,000 US. And here's the description: embark on a bucket list adventure for 75 ultimate Disney fans. This dream vacation spans 24 days and covers 6 countries that includes all 12 uniquely magical Disney theme parks worldwide, as well as 3 iconic landmarks, the Taj Mahal, Pyramids of Giza, and Eiffel Tower. Throughout your trip, you'll stay in the world-class accommodations, including a rare opportunity to be a guest at Summit Skywalker Ranch. Plus, you'll travel in luxury via VIP configured Boeing 757 operated by Icelandair, with long-range capabilities that allow for direct flights to maximize your time at each destination. You'll also enjoy personal access to experts and staff who provide fun and fact-filled stories, enabling you to be immersed in every location you visit. And then they got a map of like where the jet's going, and it's like literally going around the world, stopping at every single major Disney place you could possibly go, including Skywalker Ranch. Like, how crazy is that? Like, no one gets to stay at Skywalker Ranch. Like that's George's private property still. You know?
He doesn't live there anymore, but
no, he doesn't live there anymore. But you got to be
Chicago, I think.
You got to be a guest of George to stay there. So like clearly he's getting some cheddar cheese out of this.
Yeah, I'll say he's getting probably a good chunk of that payment.
Yeah,
just
totally.
to let these people sleep in his basement and on a couple spare couches.
Oh my goodness, 75 lucky people though. I mean, if you want to pay that money, what
was the cost again?
$110,000 US. Specifically, it's $109,995 USD.
New rule in the podcast: we always have to say the word credits, not dollars.
Yeah, credits. Yeah,
US credits. 1,000 credits.
US credits.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, it's
I don't know.
It's pretty funny. I know it's not crazy news or anything. I had to bring it up because Skywalker Ranch is the trip of a lifetime. Even if you get to go there, like no one gets to go there. But like on this trip, if you got the money for it, you can go there.
If you had a spare $100,000, would you go to Skywalker Ranch?
I mean, if I was that rich that I could just throw $110,000 away, like, I mean, if I was like George Lucas rich, like, no. But if I was like Jeff Bezos rich, then yeah.
That's not, man. I feel like this is such a small market.
Yeah, like who the heck is going on these trips? Like, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, like I'm with you though. Like I probably, if I were to go on it, my credits value would have to be starting with the letter B. Yeah,
100%. I mean, like, and I mean, like what George has left, like from his whole transaction, like however many B's that is, like, I mean, I would want to be in like the Musk range of money before I drop $110,000 on a 24-day trip. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and if you were Musk, you'd be saving all those penny pinching all the way to the B's so you could buy all the Twitters.
Yeah, exactly. So you got to buy the Twitters, the Tumblrs,
Yeah, you don't have credits to throw at Skywalker Ranch.
Yeah, you got to buy the friggin' HoloNet. I mean, you don't have any credits left.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, hey, if any fans are going on this, definitely send us a review.
Oh, yeah.
I'm curious
Heck
how
yeah.
this goes.
If any of our listeners are like going on this trip, like, I'd be honored to even receive an email. Like, if you're actually like going on this, like, dude, like, we can get like, man, if we
Even
can
if
get
they're
the
fake,
photos,
just send us reviews. We just want to know what it's like.
Look at us craftsmen as straws here. Oh, jeez. Yeah. You can tell. You can tell we live on level 1313.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's one of the first things I was gonna say, and you brought that up. Like with Disney putting out all the new stuff, it just feels like we're on Coruscant, and I've just moved to a lower and lower level every year.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah, one level after the next. All right, so last little piece here. Fan Expo in Vancouver. That was it was pretty fun. I know. Only I was there. I know you missed it. We had Bryce there though, but we had the Star Wars Escape Pod microphones active, and we caught some audio bites. Which I'll play the first one here. This is a panel with. We were only there for one day, so sadly we missed the panel with Anthony Daniels and Ashely Eckstein. I know that was kind of crazy. Although I did meet Ashely. Amazing, like lovely interaction. She's fantastic, and if she's listening, I mean, I wish her all the best. It was super cool to meet you, and here's hoping that maybe she
pretty
can.
jealous about that.
Oh yeah,
say hi to her.
Yeah, it was super fantastic. It was so surreal because like. I feel like Clone Wars is a show a lot of us kind of grew up watching, whatever stage in our life we were. It's been around for quite a while, and she's like pioneered this character. And to me, it was just like surreal, kind of stand in front of her and just to hear her talk. And it's like, whoa, like that's a voice that I've heard a lot of, like a lot of times.
You didn't nerd out and say like, you were my childhood.
No, I'm nowhere near that level, but no, my heart was beating pretty quick though.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, I must say, a little starstruck. But no, after a minute, it kind of sets in, and it's like, whoa, like yeah, she's a person like us, and she's super cool. So really cool to meet Ashely, and it was great to see her, but. I did get we had two panels the day that we were there, and we got some audio clips of Matthew Lewis, who is primarily known for playing Neville Longbottom in Harry Potter. And we also got some from Carl Weathers, who was also up on stage, who you'll know him as Greef Karga. That almost escaped my mind for a second. So here, I thought this was kind of neat. Matthew Lewis. I didn't realize he was a Star Wars fan, but let's take a quick listen to this.
We had control. You rent the books and then got the role. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, imagine that. Bonkers. It's like before Harry Potter was, Star Wars was my first love. My first kind of cult love was Star Wars, and I used to every night I would go to sleep kind of imagining being Luke Skywalker in my X-wing and being a Jedi. And if someone had just suddenly plucked me up and put me in a robe with a lightsaber and put me on Tatooine, it would have been a dream come true, right? It would have been amazing. You'd be like, this is unreal. How is this a thing? I got to do that with Harry Potter. It's just nuts.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. I thought that was a pretty neat little, like what do you think of that, eh?
I think it's actually super relatable because I feel like he's probably around our age, and so when he got cast to be playing Neville Longbottom, like we were right there along him growing up watching, like Phantom Menace probably like just came out, right? So right around that time period. So
yeah, it's true. I mean, like what he says there about like Star Wars being his first love, and just really kind of getting the Harry Potter role and just being plucked and plopped into this rich in lore universe, right? That millions, if not billions of people know about at this point and have completely kind of gone head over heels for. It's surreal, you know, it's a surreal experience that he's been through to kind of have that experience. And like, yeah, no, it wasn't Star Wars, but like, you know, Harry Potter is pretty high up there. So, I think it's amazing though, that like, it makes him very relatable. You know, the fact that Star Wars is like kind of his thing, you know, he loves Star Wars. Now he didn't really elaborate too much more on Star Wars, but
I wonder if he's still a fan. Did anyone ask?
No, you know, that's kind of what I mean, is like he didn't elaborate any further, because like I would have loved to have heard more as to what he thought of Star Wars, like what he thought of maybe the recent movies, like whatever, like, you know, just anything. Like I would actually love to.
What is your opinion on Bad Batch season 2 episode 7?
Yeah, how many poodoos, how many points, how many Pablo points? Yeah, so the other guest that they had up on stage that day was Carl Weathers, and I'm actually like, it's funny because, like, you know, he's the Star Wars guy that we saw that day. So there's so much that, you know, he said in regards to Star Wars. I can't necessarily play any like one particular thing that stood out, because there was just like a crazy amount of things. But if I were to pick out anything, I'm just scrolling through right now trying to find anything. But here, let's do this. Let's play this one.
Fantasy football, okay? Join reality, man. You're talking fantasy, okay? I don't know. Those are two different people, 2 different decades, 2 different lifetimes. I got no clue. Yeah, I don't know either. Oh, okay, there you go. Next.
Mr. Weathers, it's an honor. I just want to throw this question out while you're here on behalf of many of the people in the audience. I'm wondering if you could give us an episode-by-episode synopsis and every single spoiler of season 3 of The Mandalorian.
Wait.
I think we got a 5 minute. We got this 5 minute warning right there. So
Say that again.
1 minute on it.
If you could walk us through every...
No idea which episode I finish in, and somewhere in the middle I direct an episode.
Carl, we didn't get our 5 minute warning, but
5 minutes. I'll speak faster.
Okay. Is it time for the dessert question?
All right, so a little tidbit there. Carl Weathers, you know, personally saying he directed an episode in season 3, and I just thought that was like, you know, maybe a section worth playing.
That's pretty cool. Looking forward to that. We'll definitely have to call that out when we see the episode.
Yeah, I love my friend Luke in the mix there. You want a mini donut? Did you catch that?
No, I missed it.
Yeah, he was like, here, let me play it. Hold on, let me. Like, I gotta rewind that. Hold on a second here.
Yeah, I don't know either. Oh, okay, there you go. Next.
Mr. Weathers, it's an honor. I just want to throw this question out while you're here on behalf of many of the people in the audience. I'm wondering if you could give us an episode-by-episode synopsis and every single spoiler of season 3 of The Mandalorian.
Wait.
I think we got a 5 minute. We got this 5 minute warning right there. So
Say that again.
1 minute on it.
If you could walk...
There, you catch that?
No, I missed it. I totally missed it. It just blends in the
Right.
background.
I'll rewind 10 seconds. Here we go.
Wait.
I think we got a 5 minute. We got this 5 minute warning right there. So
Say that again.
1 minute on it.
If you could...
Oh, there it is.
There it is. Want a mini donut?
My mini donut. Man, that is hard to hear.
You want a cup of Jawa juice? Oh man,
Oh my gosh.
so good.
Shout out to Luke.
Yeah, shout out to Luke, who's never been on the podcast before until now.
That's right.
You want a mini donut? Yeah, we're gonna have to start selling Star Wars Escape Pod T-shirts with the quote on it. You want a mini donut? And then on the back, you want a cup of Jawa juice to go with that?
Oh gosh.
Oh jeez. Yeah, it's pretty good. So
It's
yeah,
pretty cool though. Seeing these like big celebrities in person, you know, get to ask some questions and stuff. You should have gotten in line though. Ask some stuff.
Yeah, I'm always too. I don't know. Like the lineup's always so long. Like I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna sit here and enjoy the conversation because but to be fair, like a lot of I could probably come up with a better question than most people come up with because a lot of people get up there, they just want to ask a question, and it's like, dude, like, like really, that's your question? There's a lot of questions that I feel like maybe like.
We get in line to ask before they have a question.
Yeah, it's like, you know what? Do your research before you come up with a question because, like,
but at the same time, though, like, unless you get in line right away, you might not get that opportunity.
Yeah, no, it's
too slow.
It's true. But then again, it's like, some people, this might be like their number one star kind of thing. Like if you were to get one question out of George Lucas, like, what would you ask, right?
Oh,
like, I would have to think about that for hours. Like, if I could only ask him one question. Like, dang.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of good ones. Like,
yeah. And like, I wouldn't want to waste it on like, what are your thoughts on the rise of Skywalker? Like, I wouldn't want to waste the question. Like, I already kind of know what the answer is. I would ask him, I would want to ask him something like, explain to me like something, right? Like explain to me like your vision for what you would have done with your sequels and the Wills of the Force or something like that. That's one of the ones on the top of my head, but like I would want to ask him something that he can just elaborate on and kind of like,
Master Lucas, what are metachlorians?
Explain to me again.
I already did it once.
Well, all you gotta do, Liam did it the best. Liam did it the better. Just turn on Phantom Menace. I'll explain everything.
Next question.
All right, next. All right.
Oh man.
Well, it's been a good week, and we've had a great episode here. Do you want to bring up anything before you wrap it up here?
I guess, are we going to talk about the Mando trailer, or should we just wait until the show comes out?
3 days before the show premieres, I feel like our time has been spent.
We missed the boat.
I think we missed the boat. Yeah. That being said, there is I think a new promo or teaser or something that dropped online on YouTube. Of course, you can find it in our Discord server, which catches all Star Wars videos from YouTube and posts them chronologically in the channel called Star Wars TV. And the clip is called Who We Are. I think it's a promo reel or something like that. But, check that out. And I'm looking forward to chatting with you, sir, about Season 3, Episode 1 of The Mandalorian.
That'll be a good time. Looking forward to it.
Looking forward to it. All right, buddy. We will catch you in the next one.
We'll see you out there. Keep flying.
All right. To those of you who have stuck with us this entire way through the episode, thank you so much for tuning in. It's always great to have you. It's always great to chat Star Wars, and always great to have our esteemed co-host back on the show, Mr. Blake. And upcoming Star Wars content, of course, we already went over that. So looking forward to Mandalorian Season 3. Be sure to tune in each week for Mandalorian after shows combined with Bad Batch after shows and reviews. And hopefully we can get a few friends of ours back on for those. I know Kirk's keen on coming back once he's back from some trips. And I think we'll have Bryce on as well. And we'll get Phil back on, maybe Darian, get the crew back together. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram with the handles at SW Escape Podcast. Feel free to send us an email, which is swescapepodcast@gmail.com. You can send us a voice memo and in the form of an email. We'll play it here on the show if you have a question for us, or you can join our Discord and use that special channel that we talked about earlier, Questions for Podcast. So thank you, Josh, for sending in the very first question of hopefully many, and check us out on that platform. So thank you for tuning in to Star Wars Escape Pod, and we will catch you in the next episode. May the Force be with you. We'll see you next week.